Section 3. You will hear a conversation between two students, James and Kate, talking about their studies and part-time jobs. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Kate, I'm really busy at the moment trying to manage both my schoolwork and part-time job.
Oh, James, that sounds like a lot to handle. Where do you work?
I managed to get a job working in the local bakery, learning how to make bread and cakes. Since I'm studying business, it's really useful to experience at first hand how a shop is run and interact with the customers.
Wow, it sounds really interesting. I'd love to come in and try the produce one day. Is it nearby?
It's about 15 minutes away, which is frustrating because it's too far to walk from my house and I have to drive there. Despite the commute, my tutor recommended it to me as it's renowned in certain circles for being a very well-run and successful business.
Is it a part of the Kingfisher Bakers chain?
No, it's an independent family-run store, which is good because they're really supportive and eager to help me with the information I need.
How do you find the theoretical aspect of the schoolwork?
I find the practical work far more interesting, but my tutors are really enthusiastic and I get on well with my classmates, which makes the lessons a lot more enjoyable. Also, I recently found out that I can complete the theoretical aspects of the course within 1 year because of the practical experience I'm getting.
Wow, that's great.
I know, I was so relieved. I find the theory pretty hard to understand, so I was really worried about taking it for another year.
Do you get assessed every term or just once at the end of each academic year?
No, there's an assessment every term, which is great because it really takes the pressure off. In the first term, it's really relaxed. You conduct your own experiments on your topic of choice, and then everyone in your class assesses each other as a practical exercise. It's just a shame that practical experience doesn't count towards the grades.
Yes, that's true.
Anyway, enough about me. What are you studying?
Oh, I'm not sure what I want to study yet, but I've been making enquiries about the English language course.
Do you know what career path you're interested in following?
Since Spanish is my first language, I thought that studying English would be really beneficial if I decided to apply for a job in England. I really enjoy art, and I'm very creative, but I don't think that becoming an artist is a very practical choice. I was thinking of using my passion for art in a different way, like working as a curator in an art exhibition, for example.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. I think you'd be good at that.
The problem is that the course is very expensive, as you have to buy materials yourself, and they don't offer any scholarships to cover expenses. I need to order a catalog of the courses on offer so I can see if there are any other modules that might perhaps be cheaper to study.
Luckily, the courses don't start until September, so at least you have plenty of time to get organized.
I can't believe I have to wait until September. I'm already so excited about starting.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
What other art-focused modules could you choose from?
History of art is my first choice, since there isn't so much expense involved. I think it would be really interesting as they invite a number of guest lecturers from across the globe to speak on specialist subjects.
That sounds great. What about sculpture?
Well, sculpture looked like a really suitable option at first, since it's the easiest course. But again, the utensils and materials aren't provided, so you have to spend a lot of money on supplies. I'm also considering the option of digital painting. There isn't much reading involved, and the accommodation is located inside the studio, so you would never have to worry about commuting.
Commuting is such an inconvenience, so that's definitely a big advantage. What do you think of art theory?
That's definitely an option for me. There are no exams, as you get assessed on your coursework and research is conducted independently, so you can work from home, which is really convenient. The only other option is photography, but I'm not so keen on that.
Why not?
I've just never really been interested in it, and I see it more as a medium for documentation rather than an art form. You're also required to buy one of those really expensive cameras with a digital display and micro-focus capabilities, which I can't afford.
Well, let me know what course you decide on.
I will. Thanks for talking it over with me.
No problem. See you later.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 4. You will hear a talk on the subject of birds in New Zealand. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now turn to section 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to look at birds native to New Zealand, delving into the facts and exploring methods of protecting these species from extinction. It may surprise you to hear that there are thousands of bird species that are endemic to New Zealand. That is to say that they are not found anywhere else on the globe. Since most of these birds live on a diet of freshly caught fish, they often nest along the coastline, or if they need to catch freshwater fish, the neighbouring river. Once they have mated, the female birds will collect twigs and pieces of debris to build nests where she can safely hatch her eggs out of the reach of predators. When humans arrived in New Zealand about 700 years ago, rats were carried on the ships with them. The rats flourished in the warm climate and put pressure on the native bird populations, in particular on the flightless species. In 1984, researchers found that only 3 pairs of flightless bird species remained in existence, and that even these faced severe threats. New Zealand is now a world leader in facilitating the recovery of severely endangered species from the brink of extinction. Every year, researchers carry out surveys in order to monitor the fluctuating levels of bird numbers and species living in New Zealand. Due to the migration patterns of many of the species, it is particularly hard to estimate the bird numbers accurately, since many may have flown to other countries in search of mates and warmer climates, and thus not appear in the survey. Bird numbers are also particularly sensitive to environmental influences, in particular to those related to human activity. Everyday activities, such as farming or constructing a home, can have a massive impact on the local populations. Forests that serve as a habitat for thousands of birds can be entirely eradicated to make fields for crops or to provide wood for construction, having a disastrous impact. It is not only the human influence that threatens the future of many bird species, since many predatory animal species have flourished in New Zealand. One of these species is the mantane snake, which was introduced from Australia and has decimated the population of killdeer birds. These birds nest on the ground and often return to find that their eggs have been devoured by the egg-eating snakes. One cannot dismiss, of course, the pressure that nature itself imposes on the survival of many bird species. Natural disasters, such as storms, can be devastating, tearing apart forests and leaving thousands of destroyed nests in their wake. Monsoons flood the rivers and often drown many of the flightless bird species that are unable to escape. Unfortunately, the greatest threat to bird numbers in New Zealand is illegal hunting, which is almost impossible to prevent. Many endangered bird species are on display at the National Zoo, and it is essential that urgent measures are taken to protect them. The zoo recently employed an expert in bird protection, who recommended that they should employ a guard to protect their birds from poachers. The expert also pointed out that the birds can become very stressed in situations where the public are able to approach them too closely, suggesting that the administration install a fence network to keep the public a safe distance away from the birds. Despite this threat to birds in captivity, it is the freely roaming birds that are most at risk. Efforts are being made to educate people on how they can contribute towards protecting birds that are living in the wild. Finally, research has shown that one of the most effective methods of informing the public on the importance of protecting the bird populations is through the media. I advise you all to read the articles written on this topic in specialist journals, and also carry out research on the internet. Each and every one of you could make an enormous contribution to the protection of birds if you put your mind to it.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.